Hello friends, Adam Shaw here from my studio in Northern California with the next episode in the series that I'm calling Let's Talk About Art. And today's topic is Andy Warhol gave birth to Donald Trump. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. Because I really think that there is a direct line between Andy Warhol, what he represented, and Donald Trump and what he represents. But before we get there, let me ask you a question. How much would you pay for a banana? It's been a long time since I bought a single banana. I'm not sure what it would cost, but somewhere around 25, 35 cents, 50 cents, $1 if you're like at a concession stand. Maybe you pay $1 for a banana. Well, a few years ago, I'll remind you that at Art Basel, Miami, somebody paid $160,000 for a banana that was duct taped to the wall as a work of art by Maurice Catalan, I believe it was. $160,000 for a banana, and he didn't even get the banana. All he got was a piece of paper that said that he bought the banana for $160,000. Nice work if you can get it. Also at Art Basel, Miami, some years back, somebody paid $5 million for a hole in the ground. Let me say that again. Somebody paid $5 million for a hole in the ground, which actually is not even that original a concept, because somebody had already paid millions of dollars for a hole that another artist, I can't remember who it was, put in the ground of his gallery in New York. And those people who spent that kind of money didn't wind up with the hole. It wasn't like they took the hole home and they put the hole in their house or their yard or whatever. They actually got nothing but the experience, I guess you could say, of spending that kind of money for nothing. And that's considered art. That's a real problem. It's a real problem not because that $5 million could have gone to feed like a small village in Africa for a year or something like that, although that's true. It's a problem because people are so effing stupid and so asleep and so smug and so hypnotized and so supercilious that they feel that they can spend $5 million on a freaking hole in the ground or $160,000 on a banana that nobody's even going to eat. I mean, you gotta laugh or you're going to cry. That's the way I see it. Now, I am putting this in the lap of Andy Warhol. It's not exactly true that it all belongs in the lap of Andy Warhol, but Andy Warhol is a great symbol for the decline of Western culture. Because prior to Andy Warhol, and again, these are broad strokes, there's a million exceptions, which if we were, talking for hours or doing a whole semester seminar here, we would uncover. And, if the video is of interest to people, we'll come back around and discuss some of these things that come up here. Prior to Andy Warhol, by and large, art was about creating something that brought people an experience that was extraordinary, meaning not an ordinary experience that you would have if you looked at anything else. I'm not talking about sunsets or soaring eagles or something like that. I'm talking about things that people make. The beauty and profundity of art was that it offered a space where you could take respite from the visual noise and the vacuity of everything else. Art was special. And in a certain way, exalted. But when Andy Warhol decided to take a soup can or a box of Brillo and put it in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, what he essentially did was say, art is not sacred. As a matter of fact, art is ordinary and base. Now, prior to Warhol, when Duchamp took a bicycle wheel or a urinal and put it on the wall in a museum, it was a real inquiry. It was, Duchamp was a fantastic painter. He had great painterly chops. And he was a deep philosophical thinker. And his confrontation with the viewer as to what really is art and what is art for, and let's examine that, was kind of profound. But when Warhol came along, it was the it was the form without the profundity. And it just invited a lot of people to this day to make vacuous art. It's not even really decorative. It's like smug and ironic. I mean, when I see art made by artists today with pictures of Marilyn Monroe or the Chanel emblem, the Chanel logo, it's like, how is Marilyn Monroe relevant now? How is Elvis relevant now, other than as cultural icons that passed through a time in the 50s, 60s? What is their relevance to you now? What is a picture of Marilyn Monroe or multiples of Marilyn Monroe on your wall? What does that do for you? Honestly, I explain it to me if you have some insight into that, because I truly don't understand it. And I feel like the proliferation of that art is like a commercial hoax. I mean, the Andy Warhol market, which is huge, hundreds of millions of dollars every year, one of the largest art markets existent of a single artist. It's controlled by a very small number of people who invested deep and wide in Andy Warhol and control the price. They bid against each other at auction to bring the price up. If the price is not adequate, the work doesn't get sold. It's insider trading of the worst kind, and it's blatant manipulation of the market for the benefit of a very small number of people. And yet still people, they flock to see Andy Warhol as if there's some kind of revelation there. And there's not. It's empty. It's vacuous. It's meaningless. It's commerce. Do you think I have feelings about this? So I just want to invite you to think about what it is you want art to do for you. What is art for? That's the topic of our next video, which will be titled, What is Art For? Or actually, Expect More from Art. Because you should expect more from art than a freaking banana you can't eat for $150,000. Or a $5 million hole in the ground. Or a multiples of Marilyn that don't even show the slightest artistic merit. Art is sacred. And it has been taken away from that for commercial purposes for the benefit of an extraordinarily small number of people. And then people like sheep hypnotized by that, not even realize that they're being duped and screwed. And lo and behold, here we have Donald Trump, elected to President of the United States and possibly elected to President of the United States again. The man is a buffoon. He's a bag of wind. He's to statesmanship what Andy Warhol was to art. There is some kind of genius there. Obviously, you don't get half the people in the United States to vote for you and support you if you don't have something going for you. But it's certainly not his intellect. It's certainly not his policies. It's certainly not his charm. It's certainly not anything that he has to offer, except the fact that he's an anarchist and he's a rebel. And people like that. So despite the fact that it goes against their own good and their own benefit, they're willing to support this guy. So I see maybe artists are the canary in the coal mine, and maybe Andy Warhol was the canary in the coal mine of the decline of true values in our culture. But it led to Donald Trump, who is the direct descendant of Andy Warhol. So think about that. If you disagree, feel free to say so, but say it in a nice way because I'm extremely sensitive. So I don't do well with battling, but I have no problem with discussing and disagreeing in a respectful way. Okay, so there we are. That's today's installment, and I hope you like it. I hope you subscribe. I hope you share it. I still haven't, figured out how to really play the YouTube game to get viewers and all that. I'm dedicating sometime next week to really digging deep into the YouTube algorithm. So hopefully we'll go from just a couple of dozen views to a couple of million views. I'm only like maybe 20, 50 million behind Taylor Swift. So Taylor, watch out. Here I come. See you next time.